Hey everybody, Neon here. I want to do a quick analysis of the economy update that just happened. I mean, I'm sure that a lot of you saw this and I was like, yeah, Neon's going to probably have an article about this out very soon since this is a topic that I care very passionately about. But yeah, no, I wanted to do this in order to run down exactly what's happening, what my thoughts on it are. I'm not going to be able to get into it as much detail as I would like for right now, but you'll understand why at the end. So game economy changes. Basically, we saw about an 11% decrease in the income from silver, gold, and diamond chests, and comes out to about 10% total decrease in income when you factor in the fact that the copper chests are not going to be giving out any less gold than before. There's also the change to the long quest thing. I don't know how that's going to impact the economy, but just something to note for it. But yeah, so we do have this significant decrease in gold income that's going to be happening in the client very soon. So it's actually important to note, though, that this isn't really a total 10% decrease in income, because we're getting income in both the form of packs and the form of gold. Like, we have this 10% decrease in our gold income, but our pack income actually is remaining like functionally the same, like the amount of shift stone that we get from, you know, various actions, or the getting our pack a day, for example, like that is actually unchanged. So while you might think in your head that this is just a 10% change in incomes and that all decks therefore cost 10% more, that's actually not quite accurate. It's closer to about 5%, because I think that for the average user, you get that one pack per day that you get from, you know, like your first win, and then you get about 1,000 gold from your quests. So it evens out to about the same for a casual-ish player. For different types of players, though, this matters significantly more. The one that makes the biggest difference is for draft. I think a lot of people picked up on this pretty quickly. That you're really going to feel this here, and part of this is also because there's kind of like this multiplicative effect, like a compounding effect. But let's just run through what the rewards are for draft for doing some analysis of this. So if you get 0 wins, you get 2 silver chests, 3 silver for 1 win, then 2 silver, 1 gold, etc. like this, and all the way up to 3 diamond chests if you go all the way to 7 wins. Now, there's going to be different percentage chances of getting to each of those different thresholds depending on what your win rate is and your skill is in draft. And, I mean, we don't totally know how matchmaking works in draft about how much it corrects for your current record versus your current MMR. That's actually something that I would love to have a little bit more information about. But in this case, I'm just going to kind of assume that you know, matchmaking works to a certain degree, so it's going to be hard to get really high win rates. But so let's just talk, though, about what the different win rates of, like, how much you're going to be experiencing this difference, given the fact that it's also, I mean, we can calculate how much money you lose at each of these thresholds, but then there's the question also of the probability of getting each of these thresholds given a given win rate. So I just did a model thing. You can actually see how this model is constructed in some of my previous works that I'll list below. I'm not going to go through it all here, but the idea is, so first, doing a 50% win rate for each of these 2 models. So the old model, you got about 2,004 gold per draft. If you're at a 50% win rate, just infinite timeline, you're getting a 2,000 gold per one. Also, remember, this is also including upgrades as well. So when I gave those values earlier, they're saying the gold chests are worth 475 or whatever it is. Like, that's talking about an unupgraded value. When you add a 10% upgrade value on that in addition, this is the values that I'm actually using, so the true values of those chests. Under the new system, we have 1803, so you definitely see that 10% decrease there in that 50% win rate numbers. Now, for 70% win rate, why this matters is because for the old system, you get about 4,000 gold per run as your income from it. The reason that this matters is that I think that this is a roughly replacement rate, assuming that you are also playing some amount of constructed and that you're actually doing your quests. Like, maintaining an actual, to get truly infinite in draft of getting consistently 5,000 gold, and assuming that you're just doing this constantly and you're not getting any income from any constructed and any quests, you have to hit about a 79% win rate, which is totally insane. But to get a functionally infinite one, I think that it's about 70% win rate is what you need under the old system. In the current system, that only gets you 3,613 gold per run on average, so this is definitely outside of the range of infinite in doing it. Like, you'll definitely not be able to just do it every time you want. You're going to have to grind some constructed as well, which is going to be slower too. Like grinding the constructive wins is going to be, you know, a win or two more. The fact that the copper chests haven't been hit is actually, I think, a subtly important thing. I mean, they were hit in the sense that the upgrade values that they can reach are not as impactful, but they didn't get hit very hard. But so the 74% win rate, the reason I want to bring this one up is that for the new system, that's roughly that 4,000 gold threshold of what is functionally infinite in my mind. So, and to just give you perspective, like that 4% difference might not seem like a lot, but it means that, well, there's a 13% decrease in the amount of losses that you're having, because it's just hard to kind of totally imagine what it's like to be in that threshold if you haven't experienced it. Like, the difference between 70% and 74% win rate is really massive in like how well you're doing. So it's going to be a lot harder to go infinite in draft, and I think that the experienced drafters will feel that. So there's a couple questions that I still want to talk about here that I think might be on some people's mind. Like, the first one is, I'm not a great drafter. Should I still play draft? Because I think there's this conventional wisdom that you should be drafting as the best way to build your collection. Or similarly to this, my friend is new. Should I still recommend them to get into drafting in order to build their collection? The answer, I will say unequivocally, no hesitation, is still yes. And the reasoning why is because people often forget the fact that we have two forms of income that we're getting in the course of doing this. In the draft section, we're opening 4 packs, we're getting the shift stones from opening the packs, and that actually represents the vast majority of the income that you experience in doing draft, and because that part is so generous is the reason why it's good for building your collection. The people who are getting large amount of gold have always been the high win rate in individuals. So like once you're below 50%, like, you're still just getting the vast majority of it from the packs, and that doesn't change much in the course of this patch. To emphasize this, I want to talk about the draft strategy of top left times 48, which is the idea that you are picking just the top left card 48 times in a row as you're doing a draft. This is a little bit controversial, but this is better than opening packs, just buying them 1,000 gold at a time, if you're just trying to maximize value and you don't care about the origin of the pack. Like, I have personally a complete set of set 1 and set 2, so I don't really want those cards, and I'm only interested in the set 3 and 4 content. So this doesn't work as well for me, but somebody who is building their collection, it's actually better to do it that way. 0% win rate, because you just, any random rare or legend that gets past you that's kind of crappy, that is a huge boost in your value. That strategy only experiences a 1.2% decrease in value relative to before, because only a very small percentage of your value comes from the chest that you open, because you're not winning very much. So given that your parameters, like, even a 0% win rate, you're seeing just a very, very minor decrease in your value. It's only when you get to those higher win rates that you really notice a difference in the income here. This, though, actually relates to a question that I saw a couple people say about maybe they should decrease the cost of draft, and I think that's actually a little bit of a misunderstanding about what's going on here, because they actually have to cut the expenses of what's going on in the system, and if you're decreasing the income and then you decrease the expenses, it doesn't actually, like, achieve anything. It doesn't actually achieve a change. Like, just to emphasize this, we get gold in the system. The 3 main things that we can spend it on is buying packs themselves, drafting, and buying campaigns. I would argue that well over 90%, probably closer to like over 95%, goes to that draft lane. So if we decrease the cost of draft by 10%, like, what have we actually accomplished here if we're decreasing both the income and then the cost? So, like, I mean, I understand the response. Still, it's like this knee-jerk thing of saying, like, well, I'm affected by this, and it makes me kind of unhappy, so I would like to see things, change. So there's nothing wrong with having that response. But if you actually think through the mathematics and the economics of it, you realize that it's just kind of not really achieving anything. But I just want to emphasize, though, that I think that the community's response to this was really good. Relatively speaking, like, there was not a lot of hysteric takes about this as being, going to kill Eternal. From what I saw, at the very least, Reddit was, relatively well-behaved, all things like that. And I was actually, like, personally, like, worried that it would just be, like, this total, gong show when I showed up and took a look at what was going on. But no, it was actually relatively restrained. And I'm actually going to read one particular take that was, like, the top comment in the initial thread, because I think that this hits on a number of topics that I didn't talk about as much necessarily, that are some of the connected fabric of what's going on here. This is from Amorphous. Maybe I'm in the minority here, but I'm someone that doesn't really enjoy Twitch streams much, and my enjoyment of Eternal comes from playing the game myself in my free time. You can say that this rewards nerf is in part to help balance out the new gains from Twitch rewards, but from my side, it feels like I'm being coerced into leaving an AFK tab open for an Eternal Twitch stream in order to get the same rewards I had been getting previously, while artificially bumping up the viewer count on Eternal's Twitch streams, which doesn't feel great to me. Eternal is one of the very few mobile games that I can play whenever I feel like without feeling obliged to set up autoplay and or check in every 4 hours to obtain whatever random currency, and I'd hate to lose that. At the end of the day, a 10% nerf in gold gains isn't even remotely the end of the world, but the justification behind the change leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I think that this is pretty spot on in all matters, basically, because I think that I didn't talk very much about the terms of the justification, but the other justification that's going on has to do with the Russian community. And then, like, it feels weird to have all of that brought in, and I also understand the interest of not having to behave in the way that necessarily you don't want to. I don't have a lot of time right now to do the Twitch stuff, and even leaving a tab open is actually a big cost in, like, processor speed and such, which matters to me since I'm, like, encoding videos and stuff a lot nowadays. So this is, I think, a really valid point to me, and I think that this is something that maybe not necessarily this particular person, but had this announcement been tied in with, for instance, launching the Twitch store, that would have been, I think, more appealing and helped that. Now, still, I think that Eternal is quite good in the free-to-play area, but it's definitely lost a little bit of that luster. But actually, that goes to a final question. The last thing that I'll talk about here is Eternal still the best when it comes to the free-to-play economy? And because this is something that, I mean, I obviously am a maniac for studying this economy stuff, and when I did my freest-to-play article back last year, I found, and I think convincingly showed, that Eternal was the best in my mind. I don't actually know right now, partly because there's been a lot of changes in other games. The Elder Scrolls Legend has gone through a huge rework. I don't know if they've made changes to their economy, but I wouldn't be surprised if there has. Gwent has similarly gone through a rework, and I don't know what's happened to their economy as a result of those changes. Hearthstone's actually been getting a good deal cheaper. I think they're still horrible. Don't get me wrong, but I think that they're significantly behind. So I have to do a full reanalysis of this, and that's actually something I'm going to kind of tease here. I am planning to do a freest to play too, which is like that massive article. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It'll be in the description and in the comments. This is an article that I did for the purposes of comparing the cost of all the different major card games, and I want to do another one in December. It's going to be my first big project of the new year, and so that'll be something that I kind of tease, because I can't really say for certain right now. I still think that Eternal's probably the best, but I don't have the numbers right now to kind of prove that definitively in a lot of capacities. But anyway, that'll be it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I really find these topics really interesting. I think they're important to the gameplay and to the community, and I'm really happy with how the community responded to this, which was quite mature. Which it was like, yeah, this sucks. Nobody's happy about this. I mean, I'm not happy about this either. I mean, I know I get accused of being one of the Direwolf Digital shills. I mean, I'm not happy about this. But I don't think the Direwolf Digital is happy about having to do this either. They'd love to be able to give stuff out for free people if they probably could, but they have to, run their economy efficiently. But anyway, That'll be it for today, though. Thank you so much for joining me. Be sure to like, subscribe, set notifications, share with everybody, etc. It was lovely to have you, and I'll chat with you again soon.